Casual interactions.
Like this knee and this side of my balls are real sharp. So like I blow out this knee first, and then immediately this side of Well, I don't blow my balls out, but like the side of my jeans are just like it just
rip
right down. Yeah, like let's start to like straight. Like
you're talking about your jeans ripping.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
you
meant something else. I thought I was gonna have. I hit record a minute ago. I thought I was gonna have to edit this out.
Oh no.
I thought you said sharp.
Yeah, well, they must be sharp because they're ruining my jeans.
Because they're ripping.
Yeah, so like this, my left knee and then my right testicle
are sharp
apparently, and they destroy jeans. And so the other day I was wearing these jeans, and it was like what I imagine wearing a skirt is like, because it was like breezy.
Oh yeah,
and and it was really cold, so I was like, I have to go get jeans now. So I had to go. The good thing it was Black Friday. I got a good deal on jeans that I imagine my balls are gonna rip through anytime, at any moment. Yeah.
Welcome to Casual Interactions Podcast.
Okay. Got it.
I'm John Hambo McGuire. With me, as always, is Frank Iero and Sean Simon.
We could use that for your nickname. Something with like sharp balls.
Sharp balls?
Something like that, yeah.
It's a terrible name. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Wait, we'll come up with something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have something for next time.
Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it can't be any better than Horse Tool. I feel like we kind of maxed out on our cool nicknames.
Yeah.
Thinking about it?
Yeah, I'm trying. Nothing's coming. Sorry.
It's not going to work.
All right, edit that out. Shit.
Take the blue pill.
Take the blue pill.
Maybe that'll help.
That's
you.
all I need.
Yeah. We
fuck.
Yeah,
I imagine. But I imagine if there's like a rip in your pants, like that's where you want it to kind of go. You just kind of send it through the hole, and then that way there's
and it just pops out.
Yeah, there's no restriction.
I mean, could you guys imagine trying to study on Blue Chew?
So I'm confused. Is it like it's a chewable? It's a chewable Viagra.
Chewable boner pill.
A gummy bear?
No, like it looks like a Mentos. It looks like a Mentos. It's blue and it, puts a little lead in your pencil.
But Mentos kind of have like a chew to them.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like that.
Yes, exactly.
Is it minty?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I've never tried it, but they were the sponsor at an event I went to, and everyone was talking about Blue Chew all weekend. I'm like, oh man, so I'm going to the after party. I bet they're just have like bowls of Blue Chew lying around.
Oh wow,
they didn't.
Yeah,
because
that would be so.
Could you imagine a bunch of wrestling fans walking
party,
around
man.
boners like?
Just
it'd be terrible.
Oh man, just pointing at each other.
Just pointing at each other.
Fuck.
Yeah,
that sounds terrible.
Yeah, I mean, or it sounds like the best party ever. Yeah, no, that sounds fucking terrible.
Whatever you like.
Yeah,
that's
hey
cool.
man, whatever.
That's what you're going for.
Whatever you're going for. So let's finish up our talk on writing processes.
Yes, I've always enjoyed the collaborative writing process of being in a band. I always loved being in a band and having between 3 to 5 people to kind of bounce ideas off of. I like that immediate excitement of kind of impressing someone you admire or respect as an artist, and kind of like then having them like play something that's inspired by what you just played, and then kind of like then you change what you're doing, and it all melds together, and somehow, some way, ends up being a larger piece of art that is bigger than any one person involved. I've always liked that, but I have been involved in situations where that has not gone in a beneficial way, and that's been rough too.
Right. I mean, for me, coming up and playing with you was always like a game of like one-upsmanship, and it was just such a mutual respect and admiration that like I wanted to show you something great, and then you'd come back and you'd play me something like, oh shit, it's so much better than what I just wrote. And then it would actually galvanize me to try to write and get better, and not out of like jealousy, not out of like resentment, out of like, oh shit, I have to keep up.
Right.
And what was cool is when Sean finally came along, he kind of became like the glue that like kind of tied everything together. And what I've always loved about it was just like Sean was always be like, yeah, I don't like that. And that was it. Like, he was never softball. And he's like, yeah, it sucks. I'm going to smoke another cigarette.
Yeah, when I come back, it better be better.
So Frank, so now that you're doing your own thing,
okay,
how has that changed? Because you're writing these songs on your own pretty much now.
Yes, well,
for the most part, right?
For the most part, yeah. I would say like definitely the first record was a very lonely record to write, You know, it was the first time I'd ever done anything like
But
solely by myself.
Did you enjoy that process or did you not?
I learned to.
Right.
At first I was like, I don't know about this, but what I started to realize was that sometimes when you're in a band setting or a multiple writing session, like where it's not just members of a band that are kind of like, passive members, like when there's active writers in a room.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you have an idea and it doesn't show itself immediately that it works, it can get kind of bulldozed by another writer.
That's true.
Right.
All right. So in my camp, I feel like Gerard and Ray had this connection where they could kind of know where each other were going before anyone in the room knew.
Right.
You know
And I mean, that comes from years of them just knowing each other, playing together, being around each other.
And that was fucking beautiful to watch. And then I would kind of shape. Usually what I would write would be around, I would kind of counteract vocals or follow vocal,
Right.
and try to either support or kind of rub against it.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And then from that point, we would kind of go and shift songs and form them from there. But for original ideas, like starting from scratch, it took me a while to be able to kind of bring songs from scratch that would make a record.
Right.
You know?
Now, did you feel intimidated kind of bringing songs into a group that was already so tight-knit and close?
When I joined, say, that band, a majority, I would say, how many songs are on Bullets?
The first record.
Like 10.
10 or 12, right?
Yeah.
I would say 85% of that record was written. So I had to kind of relearn everything, write parts to it. And then I think there was 2 or 3 songs that we all wrote together. And then of course that, then getting in the band, we wrote together more. But I think that was a bit intimidating because you felt like a new member and you felt like you were something that was kind of trying to get into what is the wavelength of this band? What is the rhythm of this band? But all right, so when you're the solo writer, you can kind of chase an idea into infinity, really. And if you have a good feeling about something that you maybe can't verbalize, or if you can't really show off the bat, you can still chase it and not have it be like, oh, all right, well, that kind of sucks right now, and we're gonna do something else. You can really, if you believe in something, kind of chase it. And that was fun for me because I was like, oh shit, okay, now I know how to really flesh out those ideas that I hear in my head, but I can't create on the spot right now.
Right.
And
I mean, you do, with this new group, have the luxury of the guys you're playing with are all killers.
Yes.
They're all killers, and in their own way, what they bring to the newest version of your band is years of experience, something special. They've played with lots of different people who have different styles. And that's kind of something that you don't always get from you join the band down the block, because all you know is that little world that you live in, and you're not really yet to that point where you know that there's life outside of Jersey City.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? I think sometimes when you're starting a band, you have these different factions of all right, well, this guy's a really great player, and sometimes they're not a great person to be around.
Right.
And then there's sometimes where you're like, oh, this person's a really great person to be around, but they're not the best player.
Yep.
And kind of try to you just make a band out of that. And I've always done that. I've always rather be in bands with people that were just fun to be around, and the playing can come later. We can all kind of find it as we go.
And now you've got the best of both worlds.
Honestly, the configuration of this band that I'm doing right now has been the past couple of years, people have been like, oh, I want that person, I want that person, I want that person.
Right.
And I don't know how, but stars kind of aligned and I was able to grab everybody.
Right.
It's almost like you feel like you're like, oh man, I have a briefcase of shit, of blackmail shit somewhere to get these people in the band.
Yeah. I mean, some of them definitely. I mean, Sean, for you, same thing. You now are in a position where you're meeting new writers, you're meeting new artists, and you're kind of saying, hey, I want to work with this person. What's that experience like?
For me, I like to kind of not discover new people as far as artists go, but I like to work with maybe more up and coming people.
Right.
I feel like you get the best work out of them. And I feel like there's so many talented people that aren't. Comics is hard to fucking break into.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And there's no right way to do it. And there's so many good people out there, So I would like to find the more of the unknown people.
They're probably super hungry too, and willing to try some batshit crazy stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can imagine that pitch meeting. You want to get weird? Yeah, let's get weird.
yeah.
So I mean, that's a pretty, I think, good look at creation, right?
Right.
Let's talk about writer's block, because that's the other, there's the dark side of creation as well, because we know what it is to get that high from having that eureka moment. We know what it is to get that feeling from when you present something to someone and they kind of give that love back that you really want and that appreciation. But the other side of the coin is a fucking bag of dicks.
Yeah, man.
Because there's the low that comes from like staring at a blank computer screen or just looking at your guitar going, can you figure this out? Because I got nothing and you're wood.
That brings us back to the chew pills, right? Actually, going back to the episode before this, talking about that manic depressive side of writing, I'll go through these influxes of inspiration where I can't not write a song,
right,
or an idea or something, and they come so quick that I can't get them all down, and it's frustrating and it makes me crazy. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, well, I have this idea, I have this idea, and like you still feel like you're doing something, you're still feeling worthy, and then all of a sudden you hit that dry spell, and it's like you can't ever see the light at the end of that fucking tunnel.
Well, here's what I've learned about that is that if you keep working through that, at the end of the day, you look at what you've done months, years later, you're not gonna know what was what. If this is written when you were inspired or if you were sitting there.
I totally think you're right about that. Like sometimes you're your worst critic, and you're like, oh, everything I do is shit, and then you go back like a couple, with a clear mind, you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually kind of good.
Yeah,
I think also for me though, having multiple projects to be able to jump to
absolutely
has always been so helpful, because if I hit a wall on one, I just jump to the next, and I'm like, oh wait, I got this idea, and that like kind of fuels the other thing, which I think is what I feel. I maybe just as an outside perspective, I feel like is what you do, or at least are doing right now, Bone, right?
Oh, with the different podcasts, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I've got like a lot of different feelings on things. Like, so I look back to the Pensy Prep record, right? And it's funny because it was a bomb, and I mean,
You mean it was the bomb?
It was the bomb. But it was.
I don't think people say that.
They will now.
They will now.
There you go, bringing it back.
Bunch of kids on Twitter tomorrow. They'll change their Twitter handles to the bomb Jenkins or Jones or I love Frank 6913 the bomb.
Gross bomb.
Gross bomb. So, yeah, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, it was a bomb. And for me, a lot of things that were happening back then, I don't think I was really ready for. And I don't think I was really ready for the level of apathy towards that record because we had put all of our hearts and souls into it. Like, if they had made the Sandlot movie about our lives, that was the summer, and that was the year. But so kind of, it kind of derailed me from writing because up until that point I was writing.
You mean after that record, you stopped writing music?
I didn't write another song for 8 years.
Holy shit.
But we were writing in I Am a Graveyard.
Yeah, but it's different. So that's a collaborative thing. And we had Dan Bauer.
You're talking about on your... No. I mean, you're talking about after Heartbreak and Stereo came out or after us as a band stopped?
After Heartbreak and Stereo came out, after we finished up our time as a band.
Okay.
I didn't write a song for 8 years.
Okay.
I did not write another song for 8 years.
Right. Okay.
And I mean, I'd write parts. I'd help arrange other people's songs. I would help them do whatever, but I did not write a single song for myself for 8 years. Front to back. Yeah. I mean, I tried here and there. It was really like getting blood from a stone. And I don't think I was ready for that level of just apathy towards the record, because I was like, man, we just put our hearts and souls in this thing. Like, how could someone not, or at least 5 people not see that this was something special? But maybe, in hindsight, it was a time and a place for me. But also, I kept joining other bands. I kept going on tour. I was in Fairmont for a bunch of years and a couple other bands here and there. And it was hard for me because I would contribute and I would write the parts, but I couldn't get over. And it took me years to figure out what it was. I just have nothing. I kept saying to people, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. So me and George Colazzo, we formed Bride and Bastards and Sean Dillon. And they're like, well, we're going to just get dressed up like pirates. We're going to play punk rock songs. And it was the weirdest thing because it was like the faucet just got turned on, because at that point, I'm writing what I thought was fiction about being pirate. and about like doing pirate shit. So like then it was like, all right, I'm just writing about it. It doesn't have any bearing over my life. It doesn't
Right.
like, it's just me just creating this whole work. And then from that, because I kind of just didn't care. Like I cared because I love playing in bands. I cared because I'm like hanging out with my friends and we're doing a band. I want people to love these songs, but it was like no pressure because I didn't think I was writing about myself. And then I wrote probably like 3 or 4 songs that were like really about me, or really about like feelings that I had, or like deep emotions that I was just like, by the time I got done with it, I'm like, oh, this is not about a pirate. This is about me. And not even me as a pirate, but it's about me.
Right.
So I was able to kind of start writing again because I needed to kind of find a way to reassess. And also like, man, I'll tell you, working with George Collazo was great because he is very supportive. He's very encouraging. And he's not the person who's going to like look at you and tell you that your idea is shit. Like he'll come to you, you're going to come in like all hamstrung and like, oh, I'm going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And he kind of lets like, all right, buddy. And just kinda,
Is that that's
Hamstrung.
I like that. That's a trademark.
yeah, no, hamstrung is a thing. It's like, you know, the commercial, you need to eat a Snickers, you're acting like a little crazy. That's hamstrung. And also there's 4 different stages of ham bone drunk. That's for another episode.
Right.
And but I mean, he'll let me like, I'll come in with a head of steam. He'll let me peter myself out, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, what do you think about this?" And I'll be like, "Shit." And that's where collaborators are great because it comes in and you're just like,
By the way,
100%.
George Collazo is the guy who wrote our theme song to our podcast.
George
Yes.
Collazo has written themes to like 5 podcasts that I produce. Like he is fantastic, and he was a musician for the longest time. And then he was like, I'm going to write a book. And he did. Like, and that's the thing, I took a bunch of writing courses with him, and I have not written a single book. He has written 3.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And
that's awesome.
and when his books finally drop, they're going to be amazing. Like it's, you guys don't even know, because I get to read them like on the spot. Like it's crazy stuff. But
Real quick, George was in the Rodneys with Ray, and Otter.
yeah, Ray
right?
Otter and Sean
Okay.
Dillon were the Rodneys. And so essentially like, half the Rodneys went to my cam, the other half went to Brown Bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, that's so funny too. Like about putting on a persona and having that break down a barrier, and
Right.
having you be able to express yourself again and be able to write and be creative and realize halfway through that like, holy shit, I'm actually doing it. It's almost like riding a bike when your
Right.
parents holding onto the back and you realize that their hand's not there anymore, and you're like, oh fuck, I can do this.
Yeah. Or as my therapist said, wow, you had a lot of gimmicks. I'm like,
Sometimes that's what we need though.
each
like,
one had a different purpose.
I feel like I don't have a wardrobe. I just have costumes in a closet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's, that's sometimes what you need.
Yeah.
To be able to
Step
to kinda-
outside yourself a little bit.
Yeah, get through the day a little bit, and sometimes putting on like a show,
Right.
whether it be on a stage or just in general, is your way of kind of slowly being yourself without being able to kind of having an escape plan,
Well,
not
and
fully
that's-
committing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And feeling inadequate about it.
Well, I mean, that's when you really break down what, and I am in no way comparing myself to David Bowie, but David Bowie had like such a profound influence on me as a
You're
kid.
kind of the pirate David Bowie.
I am like the pirate David Bowie, but if you look at what the Hambone creation was, right? It was David Bowie and Ric Flair sandwiched together.
Ric Flair.
But if it was played by Meatloaf in the Rocky Horror Picture
Right.
Show, and that was
Wow.
Hambone, the king of rock and roll.
Hammy Starbone.
Hammy Starbone. Yeah. Sponsored by Blue Chew. But yeah,
You were definitely David Bowie with a boner.
yeah, I was certainly David Bowie with a boner. So, but I mean, that's the thing. It took me 8 years to get back on the horse to write a song, and so when the faucet came back on, it was cool. Now I still don't write a lot of songs.
Right.
Well, I'm going to do a little sidebar here real quick. So the reason why I started trying to write a book, my grandmother passed. On her deathbed, she says, "You need to write. Your future's in writing." She's like, "You need to create and write." And I'm like,
I agree with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a heavy thing to put on a kid.
Yeah, really.
I mean, granted, she died like not too long ago, but still, I'm like, okay. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to write this book. And I think I have a really good idea for the book, but I don't want to write a book. Like I am a creator. I create a lot of different things now. And man, that's.
Well, did she specifically say book?
She didn't say book, but I felt like it was implied.
Well, I mean, hey man, like I think you would write a fantastic book.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, she probably just knew how creative and how much fire you have inside.
Oh,
you
I
know?
do. And that's the thing. And I encourage everyone who's listening to find whatever your strength is and play to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where it comes from. When you like, Sean did it with like writing, like actual writing. You did it with like playing music. Like I'm creating podcasts.
Yeah.
Once you find the thing that kind of fits, you can run with it, and then you just won't be. Nothing will stop you.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I totally agree with that. Sometimes it's about focusing that drive. Sometimes I feel like we all have this drive to do something, whether it's something that we tell other people about, or we keep private in our like hopes and dreams kind of thing, that we would feel embarrassed about telling people because we are too scared to kind of take that first step. But if you're able to really focus that drive and because the first step is usually the scariest one.
Yeah.
The second scariest is when you do it and it fails, and then you have to do it again.
So two questions for you.
Go ahead.
Do you work on things in secret before you show them to people?
Fuck yes.
Yeah, and that's the thing with all the podcasts I produce.
Absolutely.
I mean, George Bungalow, who was the guy who got me into podcasting.
Can we talk about Handbone's friends' names?
I have a lot of fun nicknames.
Here's
incredible.
All right, real quick. How could you? I feel like if you didn't have a nickname, you wouldn't be friends with all these.
I agree with
people
that.
With
Yeah.
nicknames, or you would feel like self-conscious that you didn't have one yourself.
Punk Rock G.I. Joes. That's what I refer to my friends as.
I love that.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. Do you know somebody named Roadblock?
I wish. Every
Maybe
time
that could be mine.
Every time I go into a barbecue joint, I'm hoping.
Roadblock.
I mean, that's the deal. He got me into podcasting, and he's like, "How come you don't tell me like about like some of the projects that you're working on?" Because I've been so used to for years, like people telling me my ideas suck and people not.
Do
really,
people actually say that? Like,
yeah, like I've worked with a lot of people who kind of people are just kind of not enthused. They're not very nice about letting you know.
Those are shit people. Though.
Exactly. I don't hang out with them anymore. It's great.
Yeah.
But, you get used to working on things in private because you want, when people hear it or see it, you want it to be enough.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with rejection?
I feel like the older I get, maybe the better I am. But I feel like also too, about the secretiveness of it is that limited amount of time
Yeah.
is where it's only yours. And it's
Right.
this special little secret that you can have. And that's kind of a fun time to just kind of live in.
I think that's a really great way to talk about it.
I'm kind of in that moment right now where I
Right.
have this project. I've done this record and I haven't shown it to anyone. I haven't even told anybody what it's called. Like all that stuff. And I know I have all that, like I'm the only one in the know.
Yeah.
And I love it. I know I'm probably pissing people off.
Yeah.
But I'm milking it because it's so fun.
I mean, this episode will probably air in, I think, April.
Oh, okay. So
no, hold on.
But okay, go.
Let's keep them guessing.
Yeah.
Because I'm
You
sure
all
there's
know, but
I'm sure there's
fuck
people
'em.
who are
Don't,
listening.
even when it comes out, don't tell people.
Yeah.
don't tell people. Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you
that's
just
also
keep
too,
printing
like,
redacted T-shirts.
I did, yeah. That's why I feel like, all right. One of my favorite times in being in a band
Yeah.
is when you're first starting it and you don't know what it is. What's it going to be called? What's it going to sound like? Like, what's the name? We got to find the name. And then you come up with a new name and you write it on everything. And it's just like, you see it in different fonts and all this stuff. That's why, like, when I did this solo quote unquote thing, I had a name of the band and I changed it every time because that's the funnest fucking part.
Now, is it easier for you to come up with secondary names to your band since it leads off with your name? Because naming a band is the hardest part about being in a band.
Yes, it is. Well, I feel like the first name thing is what like ties it all together, so I can kind of keep everything under like
Right.
an umbrella, so that's easier to find.
Kind of in every band.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that kind of strays through. But I'm able to name the band and change members and do all of that stuff every time because it's a new band. I feel like that's the pitfall, right? Like every time you started a band, it's like, oh, cool, we have this record. And now the second one is like, everybody's like, oh, well, that sounds different. It's like, no shit, it's new.
Yeah.
Get it? So I figure like if you call it something different, then it's supposed to sound different and people won't get as confused. But apparently it confuses everyone. Also because I spell things weird.
You should also change your first name.
I should.
Every
Oh,
record.
man. Yeah, I know. I have thought about that. Like if I could go back in time, right, I probably would have came up with like another name, like a pen name, for when I was doing this kind of stuff.
Well, had I known you were looking for one, I totally would have given you a better nickname as a kid.
I know, but even then, I wouldn't have used it like on like a record and kind of thing. And now going back, I would like, oh man, that would have been such a good idea to just do that. One, to have something that's easy to pronounce and spell, and two, because then you don't have to actually use it when you're like, like ordering stuff online or getting food delivered and stuff like that. And it's like, are you that guy? And you're like, no.
Well, yeah, because your last name isn't common by any means.
It's not. I know.
Yeah.
So I usually just, whenever I order stuff, I just say it's for Steve.
Steve. I fucking was going to say Steve, dude. I swear to God.
Yeah. That's my.
So I know your alias.
Yes.
If someone says Steve,
and now everybody else
Steve
does
Iero.
too.
Yes.
You're down the road. People are checking out hotels. I'm looking for a Steve Iero.
Yeah. Oh, that's again my other favorite thing to do is like for hotel names.
Yeah.
Like not that I need one. Like nobody's like looking for me in a hotel, but it's fun to me to like put up like aliases for hotel, and I've had some pretty good ones.
Yeah.
Sebastian Tinkle Farts
That's good.
has been good. Stuff like that. Oh no, Tinkle Fish was going, and Panty Farts was the other one.
Yeah. So
Sorry, where were we?
I don't
Did I
even
just
know.
go off my ascension?
No, I mean that's
take the blue pill.
yeah.
Blue
You're gonna
pill.
take the blue pill.
Yes.
Yeah. It's funny because
Fucking ad. Just a knock.
Just a knock, yeah. Right? You're just at the board table, you take a blue pill, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh, it kicked in.
Casual Interactions
Oh,
not sponsored by
God.
Blue Chew, but
Not so casual.
there's nothing casual about popping a Blue Chew. Everyone knows what you're bringing to the party.
Inappropriate interactions.
Yeah. That's an HR nightmare right there.
Jesus.
So do you have any final thoughts on writing? Because I think we've kind of hit it.
All right. Yeah, I do. Even like, all right. One, I've always been so irked by this is when you're in a band or even like a solo artist, whatever you're doing. If you're writing music, and this is the only way I can see it in this art form is if you write something and someone says like, oh, that sounds like this, or that kills it immediately. It puts a bullet in the head before it even kind of gets to walk on its own legs. And don't ever do that. Like, yeah, you should have original ideas and stuff like that, but we're all influenced by things.
Of course.
So if you hear something that kind of sounds like something, let it turn into a real boy before you fucking put a bullet in its head. See what it's going to become. Because I venture to say that whatever song or whatever idea that you have is not going to sound like the original riff or whatever the fuck it comes out as.
Right.
So within that, chase everything, even the dumbest, worst idea. If someone believes in it or it's fun to play, just fucking chase it and see where it goes. Because even if it doesn't come to fruition in that form, it's going to open a door for something else, and just use it as an exercise. And there's no stupid question, there's no bad song.
Right.
Everything leads you to something else.
How about you, Sean? Any final thoughts on the writing process?
I just think one of the most important things is trying to find your own voice. I feel like that takes a while for a lot of people. I think when people start out, they try to emulate others a lot of the time. And I feel like you have to write for who you are. And I feel like that can be a while, and that can take a while to do that. I feel like for me, it's just happening now. I feel like for my writing, I like this guy, that means I should write like this guy. Or, I listen to this band, that means I should write like that. But no, your influence doesn't mean you need to emulate. You know what I mean?
But you can, do you feel like you can take from and kind of like riff on it and then evolve?
I feel like
that?
Absolutely, but you have to have your own voice in the process. Right. You can't write Pinkerton.
No, of course not.
You know what I mean?
But that's all right. So I guess that's what's so interesting. I feel like if you were to take a guitar and try to write one of those songs, it would never sound like that.
Right.
But you could,
of course.
It would still be in
That's
your
true.
Your vernacular, your vision.
Right.
That's why I feel like you should never shortchange yourself by being like, oh, well, I'm doing this thing. Like, fuck it, just do that thing and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
But I agree. You have to have your own voice with it.
Absolutely. So thanks for tuning in to Casual Interactions. Join us again next month for another episode. For Frank Iero and Sean Simon, I'm John Hambone McGuire. Until we meet again, hold on to your friends.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Every review helps other listeners find us. Casual Interactions is a ham-fisted production. Music by Dead Go West. Art by Stephen Blay.